Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a highly actionable blueprint for personal transformation, and this is drawn straight from Deepak Daya's incredibly intense motivational masterclass. Now listen, this isn't just about feeling inspired for 5 minutes and then going back to your old routine. No way. We're going to look at the actual nuts and bolts mechanics of completely rewriting who you are. We're diving into his specific rules for overhauling your daily life and exactly how you can apply these steps starting literally right this second. So, we have to start right here. We need to ask ourselves this super direct, kind of confronting question about our capability and our future. Daya sets the stage by challenging you to imagine a future where you don't even recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. Are you just going to be a slightly older version of who you are today? Or will you have evolved so drastically that you find yourself thinking, wow, what was I? And what have I actually become? It's a heavy thought, I know, but it is the absolute foundation of everything we're about to cover. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Set your transformation date. 2. Redefine your public image. 3. Relentless consistency. 4. Audit the microhabits. And 5. The accountability challenge. Section 1. Set your transformation date. The clock starts now. Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on establishing a strict, self-imposed deadline. Daya insists that the very first thing you've got to do is pick your timeline, whether that's 2 months, 6 months, or maybe even 5 years. You have to be realistic about your own capabilities and what it's going to take. But you absolutely must establish these 3 clear steps right now to anchor that commitment. Pick the time, physically write the date down, and make a non-negotiable promise to change. Why is writing it down so vital? Well, psychologically, it takes your goal out of the abstract ether and turns it into a binding contract with yourself. It makes the deadline undeniably real. The crucial point here is that we aren't just aiming for a minor adjustment. We are talking about a total, completely shocking transformation of your capabilities. The goal, according to Daya, is to get a very specific, visceral reaction from everyone who meets you. You want them saying, man, you have changed completely. You're basically working towards a cinematic reveal that actually surprises the world. It's almost like walking onto the set of your own life as an entirely new character. Section 2. Redefine your public image, from freebie to valuable. Now, this is a massive hurdle for most people. How you allow the outside world to perceive and use your time. Daya talks about the very real danger of being the freebie. You know the type, the person who defaults to yes for absolutely everything. If you're always available, always doom scrolling, and always dropping your goals just to have out because you can't bear to say no, well, people naturally treat your time as worthless. We have to shift entirely over to being a valuable human, someone who says no, who is busy with a clear purpose, and who fiercely guards their focus. To make that shift happen, Daya actually gives you explicit permission to use what we can call a strategic lie. He suggests literally telling people you don't have time, even if you're just sitting at home working on your goals. Now look, this isn't about malicious deception. Actually, scratch that. It's more like self-preservation. When you tell people you're too busy, you aren't just saving an hour of your evening. You are actively retraining how they view your social value. It forces the world to see you differently, as a busy, serious person deeply committed to personal growth. 0. Just let that sink in for a second. 0. That is the exact number of stupid distractions or unnecessary meetups you should tolerate before your declared date arrives. You've got to confine yourself for a set period of time and establish some incredibly tough rules. If a distraction pops up, the answer is an automatic, non-negotiable no. Section 3. Relentless consistency, the grind and the glory. What's really fascinating about this phase is how we actually execute the work while we're in that focused isolation. Daya points out that consistency is the absolute mother of mastery. When you combine repetitive practice with an unbroken chain of consistency, it's like a chemical reaction. You produce explosive results that will seem completely impossible to anyone watching from the outside. The rest of the world might stop, they might take a break, they might get distracted, but you don't stop. Daya grounds all this modern productivity advice in some brilliant ancient wisdom by quoting the poet Vrunda. And honestly, this is such a beautiful, striking analogy. Think about it. A soft rope seems like it could literally never cut through a hard stone. But with enough repetitive friction, it inevitably leaves a deep mark. It's a great reminder that you don't need to be born a genius. Soft, repetitive persistence will eventually cut through the absolute hardest obstacles in your path. Practice, practice, and practice. You have to endure the heat of hard work and confine yourself to those tough rules we just talked about. Daya's metaphor here is incredibly powerful. The more something is heated, the more it glitters. You are essentially putting yourself in a forge right now. Think back to that exact date you wrote down in step 1. You're heating yourself up with discipline so that when that transformation date finally arrives, your shine completely outpaces everything else around you. Section 4. Audit the microhabits, the sum of small changes. So now we're zooming in on the daily mechanics, because a totally different person isn't built overnight, right? They're built by changing the absolute smallest daily inputs. You have to ruthlessly audit every single item on this list, recognizing that these micro habits totally dictate your macro success. Daya notes that if you want to become a totally different person, you have to change everything. It's not just the big career moves. It's what you watch on your screen, the tone of how you talk, the people in your living space, the food on your plate, and literally the type of songs you let into your ears. Yeah, that means cutting back on the sad breakup playlists if you're trying to build a motivated, high-performance mindset. Whenever you do anything on that previous list, this specific question has to be running on an endless loop in your mind. How can I be better at this thing? Think of this as a complete mental operating system upgrade. Every single action becomes an opportunity for optimization. If you're having a conversation, how can you communicate better? If you're working, how can you improve that specific task? Constant granular improvement is the true engine that drives this whole blueprint. As you map out this journey, you've got to keep the timeline of perception in mind. While the overall difference is going to be a massive shock to the world much later down the line, Daya promises that you will feel the internal shift from the very first day you start this audit. Now, yes, the middle of this journey, right around month 6, will likely be the absolute hardest time of your life. But it is the exact crucible required to change your life permanently and finally reach that 1-year mark where everyone else catches on. Section 5. The Accountability Challenge. Make your success make noise. Let's apply everything we've covered directly to your life right now. It's time for a harsh, pragmatic truth derived directly from the source material. Daya points out that, ultimately, society asks about your status over time, not your well-being. Now, obviously, your well-being is deeply vital to you personally, but practically speaking, the world measures the noise of your success. They want to know what you've achieved, what you've built, and who you've become. This is exactly why you cannot afford to stay quiet in your comfort zone. You might face thousands of difficulties, but the sight is absolutely beautiful when your success finally makes noise. Daya's ultimate metric for the success of his message is really fascinating. He notes that out of all the people taking this in, if hardly even 10 people are successful in hitting their date, his attempt was completely worth it. Why? Because those 10 people become a massive catalyst. Your individual transformation doesn't just change your life. It becomes a direct spark that inspires thousands more to follow suit. You become the living, breathing proof that this blueprint actually works. As you really get into this blueprint, keep this profound realization locked in your mind, especially during the absolute hardest moments of your timeline. There is going to be intense friction. But remember the poet's soft rope on the hard stone. The challenge itself is the very mechanism of your change. So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative challenge straight from the masterclass itself. What is your date? Write it down, commit to your timeline publicly, hold yourself accountable, and let this exact second be the moment your transformation truly begins. Are you ready to be completely unrecognizable a year from now?